Hairpin lock.
Second score 9.5.
Welcome to Forza Motorsports, tutorial number 2. Today we're going to be talking about various drive characteristics like understeer and oversteer. We're going to start with understeer. Understeer is a tendency for a car to turn less sharply than intended. Now, this happens because the front tires lose traction, or they didn't have enough traction to begin with. This is most commonly observed in front-wheel drive cars because the front tires are doing all the work. They're steering, they're braking, they're accelerating. But that's not to say that in rear-wheel drive cars and all-wheel drive cars it doesn't happen, because it does. It's just front-wheel drive cars are more prone to this kind of characteristic. Now, you can think of a tire's rotation like taking footsteps. When you step down, your sole of your foot is on the ground. That's the part that's giving you traction on the floor. And there's a contact patch like that on the tire. It's at the bottom. And various different tuning can impact the size of this contact patch, and those are like tire pressure, camber, tire width, tire height. All these things can impact the size of the contact patch and give it either more or less traction. Now, if the contact patch is the sole of the tire, the rest of the steering apparatus would be the ankle and the leg. The steering wheel would be the leg or the ankle trying to tell your foot to turn, so you can change direction. Now, similarly, if you think about this logically, that sole is going to be planted in one specific direction while the rest of the tire is going to be changing direction. This is called slip angle. It's the point, it's the difference between where the car is moving and where it's going to be. Now, for reasons that I'm kind of unqualified to really explain, when you're turning, this motion is constantly changing. It's constantly happening. It's planted, it's twisting, and it's planting again. It's literally like it's taking footsteps. So if you ask the tires to turn more than they are able to, you can think of this as like taking a bigger step than you're able to. On a carpet wearing socks, you're gonna slip. You're gonna lose control, and that's similar to what happens with your tires. They are unable to grip the road and they start skidding across. This is understeer. So some common ways of inducing understeer are taking turns too quickly, having too much speed going through a turn, turning too quickly, which is snapping the steering wheel left or right really fast, and braking and steering at the same time. Now, if understeer is a tendency to turn less sharply than intended, oversteer would be the opposite. It's a tendency to turn more sharply than intended. And this happens for the same reasons as understeer, except it's happening in the rear wheels. They're losing traction, and the momentum is carrying the back end forward. And the same kind of deal with the front tires. The same things can impact it: tire pressures, camber, the width and the height of the tire, as well as the weight. And both of them are affected by weight. I forgot to mention that before. So if there's not enough weight on the back tires, which happens a lot during turns because all the weight is shifted to the front, because you're slowing down, you're braking, and that weight is shifting forward. So the tires have now become lighter, so they have less traction than they did when you first entered the turn. And this can cause oversteer because less traction means easier time the car is going to have swinging that back end out. Now, this is really common in rear-wheel drive cars, not so much in front-wheel drive cars. But if it's going fast enough, it's going to happen no matter what. So you'll still get these characteristics in front-wheel drive cars. It's just a little bit easier to manage oversteer in a front wheel drive car, because all you have to do is slam on the throttle. If you slam on the throttle in a rear wheel drive car while you're oversteering, you're just gonna spin out. It's not gonna be a good day. So the ways you correct this in various drivetrains depends on the drivetrain. The methods you use to correct oversteer are going to depend on the situation. If you're too close to the edge of the track and you try to accelerate out and you haven't hit your apex yet, you're probably just going to go off the track. You're going to go wide. So it's best just to let that oversteer take place and then accelerate out once you've hit your apex and rotated the car. Now, you just heard me tell you to use oversteer. That's because oversteer isn't really a bad thing. I mean, in small amounts, it's not a bad thing. If you're going into a turn and the car is like already 180 and you haven't even reached your apex yet, then yeah, you're gonna end up spinning out, and it's not gonna be a good time. But if you're using oversteer correctly, it can actually benefit you immensely. A lot of professional drivers are oversteering through turns as well because they are sitting on the edge of their grip limit of their tires, and so it causes a little bit of oversteer. And if you're not on that edge, then you're not pushing your car to its fullest potential. So a little bit of oversteer, not terrible. A lot of oversteer, really bad. If you want to drive well, you want to use as little over and understeer as possible. You don't want to be swinging those tires out. There are actually a couple different kinds of oversteer. There's your normal oversteer, which happens through turns when you're rotating the car, and then there's lift-off oversteer. Lift-off oversteer occurs at extremely high speeds. Generally, these are at the peak of your tire's grip. So it'll depend on your car's aerodynamics as well as the tires themselves. So what will happen is you'll be at pushing full throttle on the accelerator, and then you'll lift off the accelerator. Now, when this happens, the back tires are going to start decelerating. But to do this, they also need more grip. And because of the sudden deceleration, the weight, even though it's slight, will shift forward and give the back tires less traction. So if the back tires need more grip and they suddenly just lost the traction that they had, they just start sliding. And this is kind of an issue. So you never want to let off the accelerator at high speeds all at once. You want to gradually let off and then apply brakes. So those are, and that's in a rear wheel drive car, sorry. I should have probably explained that. I don't think it really happens too much in front wheel drive cars because they're just so front loaded with weight and they have a lot of traction that this probably isn't really an issue unless you're hitting speeds of like 300 miles per hour or something. Yeah, so that's generally what understeer and oversteer is. So we're gonna do a little demonstration here. I've got this vehicle. It's a Citroen 2011 Racing, I think like DS something. I'll double check when I get back to the performance menus. We're back. I had a technical glitch there. I'm not really sure what happened. But we're going to be talking a little bit about understeer and oversteer while I'm driving.
Left hairpin lock.
So you might have heard the tires screech a little bit there. That was a little bit oversteer. Have a little oversteer happening there too.
Fourth.
Right 3 into left hairpin lock.
Sorry, I was adjusting this up there.
Third. Second. Third.
Left hairpin lock.
Second score 3.8. Level up 200 CP. Second. Third.
That was a bit
Second
of
score,
understeer
7.7.
there.
Left 5 into right 5.
And I'll go over why I was doing that. Because I did do it on purpose.
Left hairpin locked.
Second score 1.0. Third. Second. Third. Second score 1.0. Fourth. Last lap dirty 0 1 minutes, 24.712 seconds. Dirty lap, inherited.
Right 3 into left hairpin locked.
Third. Second.
Left hairpin locked.
Second score 1.0.
I'm gonna try to get a clean lap as best I can here.
Last lap dirty 0 1 minutes, 34.240 seconds.
Right 3 into left hairpin locked.
Third. Dirty lap, off track.
And that didn't last long.
Second.
I definitely lost control of the car there.
Third.
Left hairpin locked.
Second score 1.0. Second. Third. Second score 4.7.
Left 5 into right 5.
Level up, 200 CP. Fourth.
Left hairpin locked.
Second score 5.2. Third. Second score 6.9. Fourth.
Alright, let me get this turn.
Last lap dirty 0 1 minutes, 32.865 seconds.
And we'll get
Right
it.
3 into left hairpin locked.
Third. Dirty lap, off track.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. This car is very loose with the back end. It just wants to swing out. So I'll be doing more videos on how to tune out these characteristics, understeer and oversteer. Hopefully this has been educational. Some last minute kind of observations about how to identify if you're understeering or oversteering. Understeering usually happens at the start of a turn, and it will feel kind of like a more rugged vibration in the controller, whereas oversteer will feel very like fast and kind of light, I guess. So I would say that the understeering would be a lower frequency kind of vibration, and then oversteer would be a higher frequency vibration. You'll also hear the tire screech a lot more high pitched when you're oversteering compared to understeer. Understeer, it'll be kind of quiet and a little bit high pitch, I guess, but it's definitely less noticeable as far as audio goes. Yeah, so there we go. Oh, and if you're turning too fast, that's oversteer, and if you're turning too slow, that's understeer. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.